like I said, they're a real creature. But to me, what it reminded me of is it was so close to a Native American. They seem way more accustomed. Like, I don't know if we're from Earth, but they definitely are. The forest preserve that he was at, they had cleared out some brush and built some bridges and stuff like that. And I'm going through the session, I'm sketching him, and I'm getting his feelings like, well, I'm not happy about these trees being cut down. The trees, they have a very strong relationship with the trees. The trees getting ripped out was like somebody coming to your house and ripping the studs out of the wall. I don't think you're going to go in there and outsmart them. I mean, they live.
It's their home, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a game for them. I don't want to get off topic, but I want to say that Dogman and the Mothman have also done. Those two, what I got was strong, dark, ritualistic magic attached to both of those.
Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on David. David reached out to me through the comments section of my YouTube. Very interesting. We're going to get into remote viewing, and I'm going to learn a lot today. Maybe you guys learn a lot today, and if not, stick around. He's going to get into some details that he can get into, and other details that we can get into right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor. If you haven't done that yet, if you have subscribed, make sure you are still subscribed, because I guess getting this type of information out there on YouTube, they kind of throttle it down for us a little bit. Many people don't believe that, but I believe they do. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so at the Eye of Jupiter podcast at gmail.com. All my links in the description below. With all that out of the way, let's welcome to the Eye, David.
Hi guys, nice to see you, Tom. Good to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that it was just a strange occurrence. I seen you right in the comment section of one of my videos. I don't remember which, and it was so detailed. I was like, okay, this guy knows something. And I was like, hey man, here's my email. Contact me. And within, I think, 15 minutes, you wrote me.
Yeah. It was a Sasquatch that was the topic. You had a guest on, and I had a tasking of a Sasquatch not all that long ago. So, I had some comments like, yeah, I wouldn't be wandering around in there. But yeah, so I'm an operational remote viewer. I was trained via a couple of the Stargate guys, Paul Smith. I've done some work with Bill Ray. So basically, I was on social media one day, and I got into this remote viewing thing, and I was doing. Now, remote viewing is always done in the blind. Like, you see, there's a lot of misnomers out there where people are like, oh, you want me to remote view the moon? Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, I see ETs and all this. The remote viewing is the only legitimate remote viewing is done in the blind, meaning that the remote viewer has no idea what the target is until after all his work is done.
Wow.
That's the psychic component. Otherwise you can't tell imagination from what's psychic. So there's a lot of people out there that are totally they're just it's frauds. So it makes people like myself, who's done all this training and work in the blind. It's kind of annoying. But so true remote viewing, you're in the blind. You don't know what the target is.
So you're saying there's a lot of what's that word? Sensationalism.
Sensationalism.
Yeah.
Yes, terrible.
I'm teaching English all day long. You couldn't tell right there, but sure.
So I did that, and I was pulled into. I got a scholarship because I was a couple of them were online. A couple of the on social media Stargate members. And looks like they were looking for talent, and I was pretty good just out of the gate at this. So I got a scholarship to fly out to Utah, learn CRV. And then before the ink was dry on my intermediate training, I got pulled into a subcontractor of the DOD to do a project. Now Paul, this is through Paul, the Stargate guy's company, so I think he's under an NDA on that one, probably, maybe, but I wasn't. So I'm free to talk about it.
Okay. Oof, all right.
But it's interesting. It's so interesting. Like, there's a lot of stigma on esoteric targets in remote viewing. And then once you get training, that's the first thing they throw you into, is they want to know some interesting stuff. So, but when I graduated intermediate, my target, my last session target was Area 51. So it was really interesting when you play with these targets. When the other student was doing a session on Area 51, my phone started ringing by itself from his phone, which is also in the same room, on its own. I was listening to music. It took me out of YouTube. It just started dialing itself. It was very strange. So anyway, so I did this project for them, and what was interesting was it was a UFO. And so what I was told is it was a UFO target, and I know it was for a DoD contractor. Now, Paul and Hal Putoff are good friends. So, and he's working on the material sciences of these like the crafts and stuff that have come down and all that. So what I believe, and I'm speculating here, was the target had to do with maybe possibly where the materials came from. Okay. And the reason why I say this is because I find myself sketching a massive UFO, and I'm following a human guy through this massive UFO who I kept declaring as the president. Now, I doubt it was the president, but there's something we call analytical overlay. It's when you kind of make whatever the target is bigger than what it is. So you kind of arrest that notion. It's like a high level deduction. But there was clearly somebody there that was human, was being escorted through a large UFO. And when this is all you could look this all up. I mean, Bill Ray was my monitor for it, who was in Stargate. And he queued me up to ask, like, what's most noteworthy here? What's going on? And in that moment, other things that I noticed during the session, again, I have no idea what this is. And I'm sketching people, and I'm sketching other beings of all different kinds, like non-human beings, different sizes. Like I even noticed in the session, I'm like, this guy is like so much bigger than this other guy. So what I found out, at least during that session, there was some kind of offering or exchange that was given up. And I had sketched like something in this guy's hand. It almost looked like a flashy stone or something. But then after that, I was tasked again to follow that UFO back to its origin, which I followed back to somewhere underwater. I just seen it dip down, and I'm sketching all this in the sessions.
Okay, if you don't mind, David. If you don't mind, David, could you if possible, I don't know what can or cannot be said. Can you tell us what it is and maybe how it works or how it's supposed to work? What exactly? Because you're describing these things, of course. Great, thank you.
Oh, sure.
But how does it begin? How does the process work, and what is it supposed to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, guys. it's very technical.
Okay, buddy. I know
Yeah. So basically, what happens is I get a random number. Okay. And on a piece of paper in an envelope somewhere, that random number, there's a tasking which says, like, go to this event on this day at this location and describe what's happening. Okay. All I get is that number. That's all I get. And you basically through you start with an ideogram, which is basically a mark. You get a sense of, is this land? What, you start very small. Okay. The process starts very incrementally small. And as you sit in there and dig into the session, the pieces of data gets richer and bigger. Okay. So I'm basically starting with small descriptors. It's dark here. It's rocky. It's, it's pebbly. There's machines here, type of thing. And then you get into more high level concepts and data as you progress through the session. So I'm sketching, I'm writing words down. I'm writing headers on the top of the page, like what's most noteworthy at this target. And then something will come in.
And so I'm sorry. Once again, is this under a hypnosis? Are you in a
I'm wide awake.
Are you in a tank of water with the float tanks or something? How does this work?
In this situation, I sit at my desk. I've got a stack of paper here, and I'm wide awake, just working. And so you have things like the Monroe Institute where it's more out of body. Okay, so there's several ways to do this. Okay, what I do. So one way is controlled remote viewing. Okay, so I sit at a desk, I'm wide awake. I sit with a paper, I start with that number, and I kind of stretch it out. Like through a process on paper. So I'm wide awake. And what happens, it's a natural evolution. If you just stick with it, like as you go on, you start perceiving bigger aspects of the target, bigger data points.
Is it like messages in your mind, or is it
sometimes
like visuals?
Sometimes it's words. Sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes it comes in as a flash image. So it just depends. Your subconscious will throw this at you in a myriad of different ways. And over time, doing this process, with hundreds of sessions, you start to get. First of all, there's a protocol that kind of helps you stay in limits from going off the distance. But also, as time goes on, you start to feel a familiarity of what psychic feels like. Like, okay, this feels like garbage. Okay, this is completely outside of me. Whatever this is got to be validated because it's not coming from me. Okay. Yeah. So you get a feel of it's like passing the ball back and forth with your own subconscious mind. And after time, you start to recognize the patterns and how he's trying to communicate. Now, depending on the question you ask, it may be easier just to show me a quick image of something. It may be easier for them to just whisper a word in my, I hear a word in my ear. Or,
oh my God, that would freak me out, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. So you get so familiar. I could tell in a session when somebody's speaking a phrase, or it's just a data point about the target. It just comes in a certain way through your mind where you're familiar.
Okay. How is there? So you were telling me there's a contractor. And they're looking into Area 51, which is a government installation.
Well, no, Area 51 was my instructor's graduating target. That. No, he just did that. He sent students there, so later on he could write a book about it. Probably.
Okay. What I'm asking is, so there's government contractors, there's private contractors, and they kind of look at each other's things through psychic abilities. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, what now? I've done a lot of dark targets. So, and I don't know, what I mean? I could just go by what, after doing so many targets, like what kind of is going on from my perspective.
Oh, you're just getting little bits of information. It's for them to go through the process.
Yeah. It happens to me all the time. I get paid and I never get any feedback. I just know that they must be happy with whatever I gave them. They won't even tell me what the target was. That happens to me all the time.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, because they don't have to, feedback is helpful. It's nice to have, like you kind of crave it as a remote viewer, just because then you know how well you did, but once you get into operations, you don't often get feedback. They don't even tell you, especially if you're working in a sensitive area.
Right. Well, because why would they? Because if you're not getting like a clear, the way we perceive reality vision in front of you, even that is up to, conjecture. So, and if it's something that's sensitive, I don't think they would trust you with that. But
yeah.
Is there a worry of so if these, you don't have to tell me, but the way I'm seeing, there's people looking at people trying to figure out information between them without actually is it like CIA stuff where it's more like concrete? They can see, how much a country's salt intake is to know if their populations are decreasing or not, or how much fuel is being used and things like that. It's a little more concrete data. But if they're doing that, is there any fear that they will look into your mind and that they can go into you and then also withdraw information that you've then taken from them? I just don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's where it gets a little controversial. All right. So if I remote viewed you or just any random human person, any time of the day, it's not like they have any notion. They don't know. You know what I mean? Because you're, and even if I remote viewed you and I was getting information about you, I'm accessing all that through your subconscious mind. You don't actively know I'm there, pulling stuff. But when you deal with some of these esoteric targets, like some of these ETs and stuff, not all the time, but sometimes it seems that they know you're there, poking around. I've experienced that many times.
So you're telling me with 100% certainty, other than your government kind of coming out with that ETs are a real thing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Could you tell me anything about what they are? What are they?
I think what we're dealing with, at least from my perspective, given all the targets that I've done, I think we're dealing with a layer cake situation, meaning
A layer cake of what?
of realms of perception. Okay, so we are very limited. We seem a very narrow band of perception. Now, when you're in a psychic function, you get a better perspective. You could perceive more. Okay. These guys they've been cultivating it, and it seems to be like a second nature to them. Okay, so it gives them. So imagine if there's another species out there that's 5% more psychic than us generally. That's actually quite a bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to give them quite a bit of an advantage for us. Because when I mean, I've seen this through remote viewing, you call it telepathy, whatever. But when I queue up a question in someone's mind at the target, I get an answer. You know what I mean? I hear it, so is it telepathy? Now, if you're dealing with the cryptid, it's more interactive. Yeah. It's more like, instead of like feeling like you're pulling something out of the back of their mind, it's more like, what are you doing here? You get answers like that. So yeah, they're more. So I think what we're dealing with here, at least from my perspective, is there's literal pocket dimensions that these things could access and come in and out of. And they have obviously they could kind of shut people off. They're just way more psychically enhanced than we are, So they have a real advantage. They're seeing every spectrum of so again, they have a huge advantage. Now, so from my perspective, I think you have realms, like we're dealing with, interdimensional things. We've got ETs from other planets. We've got stuff that's been pulled into this reality through magical dark practices.
Okay.
There's a lot going on.
Okay. That's interesting. So you're saying it's a multitude of things. It's not just if we're trying to like corner what it is, that is actually the opposite of what it should be. There's a lot more things going on. And do you know that they interact with each other on behalf against us or for us or in cahoots with some agency or something like this? There's
definitely a dark, sinister aspect of this. I don't think it's all like that, but there definitely is. I mean, I've had targets where I'm seeing human soldiers like in cahoots working down in a base with seemingly ETs doing like hybrid stuff. You know what I mean? As far as that goes, what I think happened is I think we got in bed with a nefarious group early on.
What, in the 50s or what?
Yeah, probably. And we learned that they're actually not for our best interest or something. And I think that's a big part of it. Because some of the stuff is very dark. I mean, I've been in, like, I did the Hellier Project. I perceived people down in the caves, like screaming, human people in cages and stuff. There's very dark things. Now, Dogman, I've done Dogman and I've done Sasquatch. From my perspective,
let's go ahead and no, I take your perspective. That's great. This is cool. We're trying to get a base of what's going on, and I think I understand a little bit better. That's great. Dogman, that's cool. You can tell me about them, but I'd like to go into the beginnings of that and why, or maybe not so much why, but what you think the reason is. Okay, of course, it's your opinion on why, because they don't give you feedback on why you had to do that. I would love to get into both of those.
Why I had to do what?
Why it was asked of you to remote view Sasquatch and Dogman. Why?
Oh, okay. Sasquatch was for a documentary. Dogman was for another client. Someone had been attacked. And this is actually not all that long ago. Sasquatch to me is very much a real creature. He lives in very, like, they're very territorial. So the one that I was dealing with, he was in this Washington park, and I described the whole scene exactly the way it was, and somebody went missing, the CIA guy. So from my perspective, he was in there. He must have known they were there or something. He was trying to either get a photo or something. But they seemed to know that the Sasquatch, when I did this session, the thing was answering questions before I could even ask them. So they seem to be highly telepathic. They're like an apex predator. They can see in the dark, and I think a big part of what they seem to be interacting or working with these ETs too. I don't know, and I think what it is it's some kind of a cooperation of protecting these areas. Because there's very ancient sites around the world and some of these mountains and stuff. And I think there must be some kind of symbiotic relationship because I had both of them working together.
Okay. So what are they? What are the Sasquatch exactly?
Like I said, they're a real creature. But to me, what it reminded me of is it was so close to a Native American. It was like it was like a Native American that just lived in the wild. What it reminded me, but they had all these natural instinct to stay alive. They seem way more accustomed. I don't know if we're from Earth, but they definitely are. If you think about
oh wow, dude, thank you.
Yeah,
wow.
Because you think about how we developed. We could not wait to get out of the woods. We're very you know what I'm saying?
We don't like going in there now. There's no 90-degree angles.
Yeah,
there's no air conditioning. What's going on here?
Leaving that target, it made me think if you think about just the way we came up, it's so strange. They seem so accustomed. And the reason why they're so aggressive, other than the territorial thing, is if you think about it from their perspective, they don't like anything about us. They don't like the technology. They don't want their picture taken. They want you to stay off their land. Some of their land, I think that they've had their dead buried on this, and people don't know you're in their territory. So. Yeah. When I got the forest preserve that he was at, they had cleared out some brush and built some bridges and stuff like that. And I'm going through the session, I'm sketching him, and I'm getting his feelings I'm not happy about these trees being cut down. The trees, they have a very strong relationship with the trees. The trees getting ripped out was like somebody coming to your house and ripping the studs out of the walls. They did not like that at all.
Right.
So
they're not always aggressive, though. I've heard many encounters of them being more spiritual.
Yeah, I'm sure they're curious, and but again, I can just go from my experience. I don't,
of course.
But they seemed highly telepathic, and in that they know what your intentions are when you walk in those woods. So if you walk in there and you're not trying to catch them on camera, or if you're just going there literally with true, maybe you're just doing it, and you want to have a real experience, that's one thing. But I don't think you're going to go in there and outsmart them. They live.
It's their home, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a game for them. So now, I don't want to get off topic, but I want to say that Dogman and the Mothman have also done, and that was different.
All right, no, that's not off topic. It's not off topic.
So those two, what I got was strong, dark, ritualistic magic attached to both of those. So. If you think about Aleister Crowley and Parsons and stuff, they were getting results. Okay, whatever they were doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
So, what us as humans, from my perspective as a psychic remote viewer, humans have a perception problem. We're getting this little bit of reality, and we have there's these other realms that are right in front of us. We're just not. We can't perceive them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting.
I think that what can you say about psychedelics' role in changing this perception? Do you know anything about that, or is there any not experience so much, but if you I don't know exactly if you can say anything to that.
No, I know there's projects that they, their experiments with microdosing and stuff like that. It wouldn't surprise me. I haven't been a part of it, so I don't know. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't surprise me if they have some. I actually have heard that they have had some success with that. So.
Oh yeah. I've listened. I'm a big fan of Terrence McKenna, and alike, where they describe reality just dissipating in front of you, and you literally talk to beings made of light telepathically. So this is just. It seems to be like somewhere's in the realm in which you are, where you kind of change your whatever your conscious output or your conscious input, if you see it like an antenna like I do, and then somehow like alter that through whatever state that you're in, then something like that can also happen. So I would imagine that, I mean, of course, back in the 60s and things like that, we know what they were doing, LSD experiments, what was it, Operation Night something or other, where they were giving like CIA agents this and then trying to get like, women of the night to pull information out of them and things like that. But there's also other deep ones like object looking glass, where it's like they can like project into the future and see that, no matter what it is, because when you change something now, supposedly, the future changes. And they said, no matter what it is we do now, the outcome that we want in the future, we can't do. So they had to like abandon that project. So it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I just never talked to anybody who's done this and who gets, paid for it. It's quite astounding, actually. And I don't know, do you develop this, or is this some type of natural ability that you're born with?
Everybody's born with it. We could all do it. It can be cultivated. You can get better. It's very much, to me, at least, it's almost like going to the gym. You get real, because you're getting so familiar with these, what we like, signals from your subconscious. And it's all about getting to know yourself, like how you work yourself. And like, I could even tell when I'm like, ooh, I must really like this target. Like, I could just feel getting pulled into the information. But everybody's got the ability to do it.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
When you're saying things like, Dogman and Mothman, or some type of manifestation of like a negative black magic ritual type situation, isn't there a part of you that like is a little bit, for me, trepidatious about, actually doing that and the effects it has upon your life?
Oh my God, I've had stuff follow me home, dude. I've had stuff,
get into that. What do you mean follow you home?
There was I used to do a lot of dark targets, and I don't even know where I picked it up at. Okay, but I could tell you that that's because I've done so many of them. But I could tell you there was a time where I was waking up every night, multiple times a night, feeling like somebody was squeezing me or choking me. When like over time, I'm like, what is this? I'm going to die. I'm like, do I have a sleeping apnea or something? Like, no. Something was malicious, and seemed to be tormenting me.
I've heard of this before as well.
Yeah, and I finally got rid of it. Now, and I got rid of it by putting some attention on what the hell's causing this. I spent some other reviewers, and it was something very malicious. But I did a target. It was this missing. There's a boat in Argentina that went missing off the coast of San Mateo, like decades ago. Okay, so the Stargate remote viewers did this too, and it was like it had affected a lot of remote viewers, and it was to be honest with you, it was a little too advanced for me before I did it, because I picked up like some PTSD from that target. But anyway, so what ended up happening was there was a minesweeper, and they found the boat, food hot on the table, empty, out on the ocean. Like, they couldn't figure out where everybody went. The boat was in good condition, whatever. Okay. But apparently there's something in the water there that they had interacted with, because these guys are like ants, man. I mean, they're growing in our fingernails, man. They're in the water, they're in the caves, they're all different factions and stuff. So the biggest realization to me was, as humans, we're the lowest form of high-level intelligence on planet Earth. We thought we were the highest, but in actuality, we're probably not.
Okay. So like, I was thinking, there has to be something that's happening, because it seems that, I don't know if it's because of the internet, but these conversations seem to be, at least, I don't know if it's because of what I do or my interest involved in it through my paranormal experiences, that most people have. I would get, if I had to, venture to guess, I would say every percent of 70% of the people, that there is a thing that's happening right now in the world, and I don't know exactly what that is. Is there anything you can say to that, to why this is such common play now?
Yeah. So what I think is happening, and I think it's at this point it's pretty clear, is our government seems to be at war with itself with this topic. And over the years, there, people talk about the cabal. There is some seemingly, again, from my perspective, some organization that is interacting with these things who is wearing at least some face of the U.S. or and you have these missing scientists and stuff like that. That's not a coincidence. I tasked that out. There's energy weapons involved.
Oh, okay.
In that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence that 11 people or whatever that happen to be working on exotic technology just disappear. It's not a coincidence. There's another thing people need to know too, is we have energy weapons out there that we have weapons that make you sick, but we have other weapons possibly too that literally they point something at your head and it makes you think something or do something.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
Skull. Yeah. What's it called? Skull. Something. Mind to skull.
Something to skull technology.
Yes, I've heard of this.
So going into McCaslin,
wow, and
that's kind of what we.
So basically, these people are just trying to control the narrative. They're trying to control the narrative.
Yeah, I think what's happening is. Here's what I suspect. This I don't know. I'm just suspecting, just from everything I've done and seen. I think that there was an arrangement, an agreement, and that came to a close or something. And now, whoever we got in bed with, whatever faction of ETs or dimensionals, I don't know, whichever, they don't want this out. I think that that's part of it. Because we're being used for something. I mean, they're pulling us out of. I think what happened is when these things came down or made their appearance, whether it be Roz or whatever, we're like, oh, we want to be out in space too. We want to go out and do all these things and all that. And they're like, no, you guys aren't. You don't have the DNA for it. You can't live out in space long. You make a bunch of, you expend all this energy. You're not telepathic. Blah 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 blah. And we're like, well, what could we do? Oh, well, we can make you a hybrid. We can make you like a semi-group of humans, and those guys could go out and do those things. Because at some point we got in bed with somebody, and there's, I can't tell you how many times. I've had clients come to me with missing time, and I'm seeing ETs. Sometimes I'm seeing military with ETs.
Yes, I've heard of this too.
Yeah, so there must be, and it's got to be some form of the U.S. You know what I mean? Who else would it be? So, yeah, it's.
Well, it's going to be maybe a bit of a curveball of a question, but and I don't mean this in any negative connotation or any negative way, but what is your purpose for coming on and talking with me today? Why do you want to share this information? Because it's just interesting. We should know. Do you feel like a higher power calling you forward to do so, or it's just you think people should know? Well, what exactly is why are you talking with me? It's just interesting.
Yeah, you're not my first podcast. I've done.
I see a nice microphone.
Yeah, you asked. That's why I said yes. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. That's why I said I didn't mean it that way, but there's got to be a purpose in why you're.
The real reason why I commented, I only commented because you happen to be doing a show that just was right on this topic. I had just done this Bigfoot target, and I just kind of wanted to let people to know that, like, be careful if you're going to go. Well, I wouldn't do it. Even if they knew my intention, I wouldn't go out there. I don't need to see them. For what? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I didn't get the impression when I did the Sasquatch. If you'll see remote viewers do these target. A lot of them miss Sasquatch, and the reason why I think a big reason of that is because they could turn you around. They have the ability to do that. I don't know how, but I've seen a lot of good remote viewers miss that target. And wow. when I was working on it, I got a sense. I'm like, is this Sasquatch? And I kind of went in with the attitude of, look, I'm not trying to step on your toes. I've just got a task. I just got to poke around. I got to figure out what's going on. That's all. I'm not. And with that, everything just opened up. So right. I think that they're kind of I think that they have a high level of sophistication in that way. Now they're not going to go, engineer some kind of contraption or something, but they definitely felt smart enough that way and telepathic enough that I felt he let me in. just to give
Well,
some
I've heard people
closure to
having
this
that.
case.
I've heard people saying that, they'll be in their house and you'll hear them talk to them in their head, or they'll tell them what they are. We're ancient, we're this and we're that, but we're definitely, or they'll tell them this is what we're not. We're not just some ape running around in the woods that you might think. We're actually a little bit more. And what I've come to understand, especially I've had a few Native Americans, like real, like medicine women, come on and talk to me about them. And it's just common play that it's a mutual respect between them. This is in every folklore, at least as far as I know of North America. And it's just such an interesting thing that for some reason, there seems to be a lot of misinformation out there. I was talking to a gentleman who said that there's actually, agencies that will go online and go through these channels and go through different, Facebook groups or whatever, and actually stir up shit, for lack of a better word, so that there's no clarity on any of this. And then you have someone coming forward who's saying, from my house, I've talked to them, and I don't want to go in the woods with them. But then you also say things like that, which freaks me out, is that, you're like, oh, I was, remote viewing Mothman or something of this nature, and this followed me home. But that for me is almost scarier than actually being like, there's a physical, large, for lack of a better word, ape-like creature standing in front of me, throwing rocks at me.
It is scary for like the first month. Then you just start getting pissed off. You're just like, this is starting to piss me off. Like, because you get annoyed, at this point. You're like, but I've had so many very bizarre experiences with remote viewing. It takes a lot nowadays to really scare me, because you kind of grow. You grow into your ability, and like with Sasquatch, in any being, or like you're dealing with individuals. You're going to have some probably that are going to be more curious. Maybe the younger ones are a little more curious, or the female, and you're going to have some like, oh God, this guy's 70 years old or something, and he's grumpy as shit, and they eat meat, and he knows your intentions, so
Right.
It's one of those things.
Your intentions. Wow, that's so interesting. What's next for us? I mean, we're all this information is now seems to be pouring out. Is there any hope for us? Are you getting any good vibes somewhere?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's so much happening in the world right now. I think what we're somehow this seems to be a part of is, I think that we're in some kind of a consciousness awakening or revolution. And the reason why I say that is because, like, even when you look back at remote viewers from the 80s and stuff like that, we've come a long way. Like, for some reason, the remote viewers of today are much better in general. And I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than some kind of building up, just like it's like we're waking up, to the psych. And that now it's all in the mainstream and stuff. Obviously, it's more accepted. But you know how back in the day, I mean, you said psychic, the first thing comes to your head is like somebody in a turban and a glass top. Yeah. So, and remote viewing is just a part of it. There's psychometry, there's channeling, there's all kinds of different psychic stuff that works. It's effective. Remote viewing is very scientific, though. It's you can really prove its worth if you're on target.
Is it somehow maybe even connected to dreams? Like, where like the concept in dreams that maybe there's some, I'm just asking a question. I don't know if you know any of this. I'm just firing in the dark, man. I really don't know much about it because honestly, I'm afraid of the topic because I've had some experience where I'm just like, I'm going to go ahead and step away from that. I don't need that. I got, I'll just stay on this side of the fence and be the person who purveys the information instead of letting it, go into me. Is there, like, what I'm trying to say is, damn, I kind of lost my train of thought, but basically there's something going on, and I think we're on the spearhead of something. And I do agree with you with the awakening of the consciousness. And I would say it's something to do with the long cycle of the Mayan calendar. I am 46. I was 32 when that happened. And I realized and I noticed that right at that moment, a lot of things started happening. A lot of this woke stuff and a lot of like strangeness to, like, kind of, in my opinion, to distract us from whatever this big thing that is now arising, to kind of stray us off course. It's just an interesting time to be alive, and I'm really happy that I'm able to experience it, honestly.
Do you watch Skinwalker Ranch?
I do not watch Skinwalker Ranch. No, I haven't. No, I know a little bit about it. I know somebody who was in a not an adjacent farm, but a farm close to it, an area close to that part of Utah, which is interesting because that's exactly where you went to get your training, which made some of my synapses fire off. And so many interesting things about that place. I know a little bit about it, but what do you want to tell me about it?
Well, there's definitely stuff in the ground. There is artifacts in the ground. I've sent somebody, and they got an ancient city buried there on the property within that mesa.
Okay.
But in addition to that, there's other remote viewers. I mean, Birdie's done some, but what it looks like to me, it's after seeing some remote viewing, it's pretty obvious. So you have something on the ground, but you also have these beings that are interdimensional. And us humans are over here we're doing experiments. They're shooting up rockets and stuff. They are the experiment. There's these interdimensional ETs are like inserting stuff into this bubble to get a reaction out of them. I don't know, but there's a lot of things going on there. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but I always have this. I don't know what I think. The thing that I like about humanity is our mistakes. I enjoy that. That's why AI, for me personally, especially when it comes to what we know AI is to be now, who knows what it's going to turn into, is like, you can say 5 words and say, make this hook, do this line, and there's a song. But the imperfections in music, like the Beatles and things, or the Stones or whatever, and you listen to like, oh, there's some fret buzz there, or like you can tell that it's not perfectly mic'd up on the bass drum or whatever it may be, is what makes us super special. So there's a part of me, and then I think another part of us that is super untouchable is this interconnection with God, whatever that is for you. I'm not a religious person. I have this belief or this faith in this because of my personal experiences. And I think our undying hope is what will be there for us when we need it most, is that hope, the knowing that things will be better. But they're trying to project a lot of darkness into us, because even our cell phones are basically a portal in which they constantly try to make you feel a certain way. And if you feel a certain way about whatever, something crazy, abortion, whatever, then they go ahead and they say, oh, we'll silo you here so that you see things that fit here. And so if you look at my feed, I go both ways. I have this, that, and the other, and you see the craziness on both sides. And I think it's to distract us. I mean, the mere fact that clicks is how they make money. So therefore, it's not good information a lot of times. And I think they're really afraid of our hope, man. I really think so. To be esoteric.
I think, like I've done a lot of, there's some things from just this process that are just, you just know, like I know there is not, like, this is just a suit. You know what I mean? Like when I die, I'll be onto something else. I mean, I do, because I'm the reason why I know that is because I'm accessing data somewhere else. So
right.
There's there's a non-local, so I don't necessarily need to be in the body. And you go to what is it, the Monroe Institute? They'll take you right out of your body. You'll look right down on your body. So it's just the way it is. It's just a part of our existence. Now, I'm not going to attach any religious connotations, but we are just there. But we are ethereal in nature. I mean, when this is gone, we're still there. You can't.
Ethereal in nature. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't destroy the undestroyable. It's just, it doesn't happen. I don't know where I'll be going, but
no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Well,
I think it's like the third law of thermodynamics, that energy can't be destroyed; it's just transferred or something like that. Yeah, there's that in there too. That's also, if you guys want to look, people love science, so go ahead and look into that. But I wanted to actually ask you about the reflections of your experiences compared to looking forward, compared to how it's changed your life. Is there anything you want to add to that before, or is there anything you want to? You can also, if there's anything that you want to say, that you would like to say, any kind of message that you would like to tell humanity?
Sure. So when I came into this, I was so excited. Like, it's just amazing thing what I do. I mean, like what we can all do. It just, the gratification you get from like nailing a target that you had no idea what it was and stuff. It just burned like a fire, within me. And when that happens, like I was a very kind of closed on. Like I wasn't a person who saw ghosts and stuff like that or dead people. But I'll tell you, when you start opening these channels, you start to get some of that, even if you weren't looking for it.
Right.
There's a pharaoh, Akhenaten. I don't know if you've heard of him, Akhenaten. He was a pharaoh or something in Egypt or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I did a big project on that. And during that session, Akhenaten seemed to like be excited because we were trying to figure out how he had died. Okay, that was and again, I'm blind. But whoever he was seemed so excited that it turned into like more of a channeling site, like he's talking to me. Okay. So for another example, I was blindly tasked a church of the Knights Templar Church, blind. Mm-hmm. I'm going through the session. I'm describing coffins and stuff like that, and just the church and all this. And all of a sudden a knight just shows up, just boom, right in my face. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, and it's in the session. I'm writing it down. There's a knight here. He's talking to me. He's, and I'm like, I'm just looking around. That's all. Gone. I did and again, I'm always blind. I did another target. It was a museum of all this Native American old artifacts, right? I'm around, I'm describing things, stuff like that. All of a sudden, boom, a native chief just shows up. What are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just looking around, man. Like, so now this doesn't happen to everybody, but there is something about my perception where there must be something of me there. And there must be something of somebody else there interacting.
Some residual, yeah.
Yeah. So Native American artifacts, I get in India, a Native American chief, okay? Ghost, apparently. I'm at the Knights Templar. I'm getting a knight, a church, but they've got knights buried in the basement and all this stuff. So
right.
So again, I'm picking up on a layer of reality, seemingly, that's there. It's always there. It's just we don't, and at that time, seemingly, they noticed I was there, and they started asking me questions. So unless something weird is happening, all the evidence shows me that we're there. There's a part of us there because sometimes we get interacted with while we're there.
I had a gentleman on. He does it in his dream. I can't think of the word of it. Within the dream, there's a remote viewing, which is conscious, and then there's the one in your dream where you can control your dreams. I know I'm flying, whatever that may be. Where there was an incident that happened, someone passed away, and it was like a close person to him. It was an older gentleman who was like a father figure to him, and his friend was the guy's father. Was his whatever, how that works in my brain. I'm having a bad day today. It's been a long one. And he said, okay, so this guy can do this interactive dreaming, whatever that, there's a specific word for it. People are going to kill me. I know that. But in the dream, normally if something jumps in front of him, in his mind, he can just kind of move it out of the way and say, get out of here. And then jump and fly and do whatever he wants to. But this time,
lucid dreaming?
Lucid dreaming. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I knew you were here for a reason to help me out. Humility is important. And he said, no, you can't do that right now. I want you to give, because his son was moving to another country, right? And he said, don't worry about it. It's okay. Tell him, first of all, you can't just blink me out of existence right now. I want you to tell him that I'm okay where I'm going. I can't give these messages anymore, but if you can do me a favor and tell him that he's okay and I love him and I'm fine, that would be great for me. And he come out of the dream and he's like, okay, I am not going to say anything. The funeral's just passed. It's not time for that. And like 2 weeks later, he's supposed to leave to wherever he was going, another country. And he goes, man, I got to pull you aside because it's so weird to me. I got to tell you this. Man, your father showed up in a dream. And the guy goes, my father showed up in a dream. Let me guess what? Let me guess. He told you that everything's fine, where he's going, da-da-da-da. And he just detailed everything that he said to him. And he goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, my sister told me and my mother told me too. Thank you very much. And he was upset about it. So it's another, it seems to be in the lucid dreaming world, another way in which some of these messages get put through. It's just weird. I don't know what this world is, but I enjoy the hell out of it, man. I really do.
Yeah, there is, from what, like, again, I've done a lot of wild targets. Okay, so in projects, and one of them was, I remote viewed quite a few dead people, and what when I'm interacting with them, depending on how the target's setting up, this is could go into a lot of time, but there seeming, from my experience, there seems to be maybe not everybody, but the way that, like, experiences like you said, where these things show up in somebody's dreams that are able to perceive it and then carry off that message to someone. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I've experienced in my own life is, like I said, I do trance channeling, I do automatic writing, stuff like that. So I don't let anybody take over my body, but to me, it's just telepathy. I'm just listening, and I hear the message, kind of thing. And if I don't listen, they'll just chew my ear. They'll just keep bugging me until I write it down. But that started to come, after time, people are like, this guy could hear you, So, I don't know where I was going with this, but anyway, but those certain beings that have passed that seem to be like taking this role as like a guardian or something, they could put stuff into your timeline. I've been talking to a colleague about this. They could put stuff into your timeline to make things go together, like a synchronicity thing, or
okay.
So time for them is completely different. It's like a wheel. It's like they could put this. It's like, okay, we want him to go or to see this sign, and then it'll make him realize something. And for them, it's like a wheel. I'll put it here and then spin it, and then it'll come up in your reality at just the right time. Like I've got data that made sense, like later on, it's like they could put it anywhere in time to make it hit at the right moment. So
okay, yeah.
So
I understand what you're saying.
Spirit guides or whatever, but I've experienced some of that. Yeah. And I don't have to talk about it because it's what I was so sciencey. I was so like, this is a scientific thing. This is not but what happens is you become more open to these things that are all around you, and it's either, and you could ignore them, but they just get louder. You know what I mean? So
I think for some people it does. Some people it does.
But I think, but from my perspective, there seem to be beings out there that are trying to help us out. They're trying to help us. But you gotta be open enough to see the message. You know what I mean? We're walking around with blinders on. It took me a long time. Like, people don't even acknowledge the psychic component. We're all psychic. So that's the first step. Acknowledge that. And then if you want to cultivate it, there's lots of ways to do that.
Interesting. Is there a book in the future for you? Is there anything you're promoting today?
Yeah, actually, well, I mean, you could check out my YouTube channel, Owl003. I have a bunch of targets I've done. There's education videos on there. There's all kinds of videos. Well, probably over 100 videos. I am working on a book on my journey, but also the sociological aspect of remote viewing, where these people learn remote viewing from someone, and then they become like guru worshipers. Oh my gosh, this guy. And then there's a lot of backbiting within the field of remote viewing. So that fascinates me, but it's so competitive. You'd be surprised how competitive. So I just kind of do my own thing. I get calls, I get work coming through my channel. I could only take about half of them, because sometimes I'll get people like, oh, can you tell me what's going on? I'm not breathing right. Yeah, go see a doctor. If you went and saw, if you saw a doctor and they don't know, then we'll talk. But because I have a project manager, they'll filter all this stuff. So some things I don't do, like I won't do wagering targets, money targets, because I don't trust it. There seems to be when it comes to money and gambling or remote viewing, there seems to be another component. It's almost like a control factor.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, apparently I wasn't here to just tie into Psychic Network and just make a bunch of money. So, but I do it.
If that was true, you wouldn't be talking to me. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things. First of all, like numbers don't have, we're feeling, remote viewing is feeling with your mind. There's no feeling to numbers. There's no, I can't touch it. I can't smell it. I can't, it's a conceptual.
Like, what they call it? Synesthesia, whatever it is, like, like 3 feels like blue, and
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a big numerology guy myself.
But I've seen it where it's literally taken me in the exact opposite direction. It's almost like, there seems to be a filtering effect. Yeah. I feel like, to be honest with you, this is my opinion, I think there's a predestination aspect to our lives. Now, and I'm not readily aware of it, but our subconscious is not bound by time. So let's say you just enter this life, you're a newborn baby. Your subconscious mind could have already made every decision you're ever going to make, and you're just waiting for them to play out in real time. So
interesting. So when you actually fight against your subconscious, that's where you probably have some mental issues. Like there's a party that really knows what it is, and there's the other party who thinks it knows. And then if you don't listen to that inner voice inside of you, then that's when a lot of turmoil happens. I definitely believe that too. To get in touch with your real self, it's a process. And sometimes you basically, metaphysically have to hit yourself in the head with a baseball bat, or the baseball bat will hit you without you even wanting it to, because you're not listening to yourself. I agree with that too. It's so true. David, this has been amazing, man. It was just such a surprise thing. My brain is not working today. It must be one of the worst interview sessions I've ever had. And normally I do a lot better, but I just didn't know where to go with it. I guess, it was great and cool. And there's probably a million questions that I'm not asking, but maybe one time I'll hook back up with you and I can maybe you actually write something down. It seems to be something I need to do with this situation, man. I thank you so very much.
You're welcome. And just for people out there, remote viewing is a very cool thing. Don't get wrapped up in like the particular methodology. There's plenty of methods that work great. Work well with your peers, and But yeah. I'm happy to be here. It's great to meet you, Tom.
Yeah, great to meet you, man. Guys, just open your mind, open your heart, man, and you just might find something more to this world than what you might know, guys. So we are the eye. We are aware. I love you all. Later. Thanks, David.